Have you ever wondered if the long-awaited Iraqi dinar reform could actually take 10 years to fully unfold? That's right, not 10 days, not 10 weeks, but a decade-long plan where both the old and new dinar notes might coexist side by side. If that sounds surprising, stay with me, because today we're going to unpack what this 10-year coexistence really means, why it's shaking up the dinar community, and how it could completely change the way investors and observers think about the future of Iraq's currency. Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News Today, where we break down the latest insights, analysis, and developments surrounding the Iraqi dinar, and make sense of what's really happening behind the headlines. Now, let's dive in. In the world of Iraqi dinar speculation, everyone's chasing one big question. When will the revaluation happen? For years, countless theories have surfaced, some predicting a sudden overnight change, others suggesting a slow reform process. But recently, a new piece of commentary from well-known analyst Frank26 has sparked a wave of debate. According to this perspective, Iraq's currency reform may not be a quick flip of the switch, but rather, a carefully measured, 10-year coexistence between the current high-denomination notes and the new, lower-denomination currency. If this concept is accurate, it challenges one of the biggest assumptions in the dinar world, that the change will be sudden and dramatic. Instead, it paints a picture of a long, strategic, and carefully managed transformation designed to protect Iraq's economy from chaos. This is not about hype, it's about strategy, and understanding that strategy could make all the difference for anyone following Iraq's monetary future. So, what exactly does this 10-year coexistence idea involve? In simple terms, it means that instead of waking up one morning to find your old dinar notes invalid, the Central Bank of Iraq, CBI, could allow both the old high-value bills, like the 25,000 dinar note, and new smaller denominations to circulate together for up to a decade. Under this model, both sets of notes would remain legal tender. There would be no sudden rush to exchange, no short deadline to panic over, and no risk of people losing value overnight. This approach would be a gradual phase-in, one where the new notes naturally take over as the preferred option, while the old notes are slowly collected and retired over time. In other words, instead of a sprint, this would be a marathon, a methodical, deliberate process focused on stability, not shock. And that brings us to the next big question: why would the CBI choose this kind of long timeline? Let's think about this logically. Swapping out an entire national currency isn't just a policy move. It's one of the most complicated economic operations a country can attempt. Iraq has millions of citizens, thousands of businesses, and vast areas with limited banking infrastructure. A sudden overnight switch would create mass confusion. People might panic, businesses might freeze, and confidence in the financial system could collapse overnight. A slow rollout, on the other hand, spreads that challenge over many years. It allows the central bank to carefully manage liquidity, monitor inflation, and build public trust in the new currency system. It also ensures that Iraq's population, many of whom still rely heavily on cash transactions, have the time they need to adapt. And remember, Iraq has faced decades of conflict, sanctions, and economic instability. For the CBI, stability is everything. They can't afford to repeat the mistakes of the past. So this 10-year coexistence plan might not be a delay. It might be a sign that the CBI is playing the long game, ensuring that when reform happens, it lasts. According to Frank26's analysis, this idea of a long transition isn't new. He points back to Dr. Sinan al-Shababi, the respected former governor of the CBI, who reportedly discussed a similar approach years ago. Dr. Shababi was known for his careful, calculated strategies to strengthen Iraq's financial system. If this modern-day plan is inspired by his philosophy, it fits his reputation perfectly: patient, structured, and focused on long-term stability. But here's the key insight: a slow note exchange doesn't necessarily mean a slow value change. Let me repeat that: the paper may take 10 years to transition, but the value of the dinar could change much sooner. This is where many observers get confused. The physical process of changing the notes, introducing smaller denominations and phasing out the big ones, could take a decade. But the economic event, the potential revaluation or rate adjustment, could happen before that process even begins. In other words, Iraq could adjust the value of its currency first. Then, once the dinar becomes stronger and everyday transactions require smaller denominations, the CBI would roll out the new notes gradually. It's like changing the price tag before you redesign the packaging. This idea reframes how we think about timing. It means that the true signal to watch isn't the announcement of a note swap. It's the economic indicators leading up to a possible revaluation. To add more weight to this theory, let's look at what international organizations are saying. The International Monetary Fund, IMF, has publicly noted that Iraq's central bank has been working hard to modernize the financial sector, improving liquidity management, digitizing banking services, and reducing reliance on physical cash. These are all foundational steps in a long-term reform plan. They suggest that Iraq isn't preparing for a sudden, chaotic overhaul, but rather a measured modernization strategy that sets the stage for a stronger currency over time. Think of it this way: before you rebuild the roof, you strengthen the foundation. That's exactly what Iraq seems to be doing, focusing first on banking infrastructure, trade systems, and financial transparency. And all of that supports the logic behind a slow, stable 10-year coexistence period. So let's visualize how this might look for Iraqi citizens, and for anyone holding dinar today. Imagine walking into a store in Baghdad. You hand over a 25,000 dinar note to buy groceries, and the cashier gives you change. Maybe some of the new smaller notes, like 5s or 10s, mixed in with older ones. Both are valid. Both spend the same. But over time, you start to notice more and more of those smaller notes circulating. The larger notes, especially after a revaluation, become a little impractical for everyday purchases. So people naturally start using the smaller ones. Meanwhile, the old bills gradually find their way back into banks where they're collected and destroyed over the years. No panic, no deadlines. Just a smooth, organic transition, guided by the market, supported by policy. That's the essence of the 10-year coexistence plan. Now let's bring this home for anyone watching who holds dinar or simply follows Iraq's monetary journey. If this gradual model is accurate, it means a few key things. 1. No need to panic. The old notes would remain legal tender for years, giving everyone plenty of time to exchange when they're ready. 2. Focus on economic signals, not rumors. Instead of waiting for an exchange center deadline, watch for real reforms, new laws, new banking technology, international trade agreements, and central bank announcements. 3. Understand the timing difference. The rate adjustment could happen before the note swap, meaning the economic opportunity might appear sooner than most expect, but still unfold over a long horizon. This requires patience, yes, but it also requires alertness. The smartest investors in any market are the ones who can tell the difference between noise and signal. And in the case of the dinar, the signal is the reform progress itself. Let's be honest, the dinar community has seen its fair share of hype and disappointment. Rumors of tomorrow's revaluation have come and gone for years. That kind of thinking creates a panic mindset, a rush to act fast, driven by fear of missing out. But the 10-year coexistence model encourages a very different kind of thinking, the patience mindset. Instead of reacting to every whisper, it's about understanding Iraq's broader economic journey and positioning yourself intelligently for the long run. In a marathon, you don't sprint at the starting line, you pace yourself, watch the terrain, and keep your eyes on the finish. That's how this process looks if the 10-year model holds true. Some might ask, if this takes 10 years, does that mean the potential gains are delayed or worse, reduced? Not necessarily. In fact, a slow, stable rollout might actually increase the long-term value of the dinar. It allows the market to adjust gradually, avoids sudden inflation spikes, and prevents economic shocks that could hurt the currency's reputation. Sure, it might not satisfy those hoping for an instant jackpot, but it could mean the difference between a short-lived spike and a lasting, credible reform. In that sense, patience could actually protect the value rather than weaken it. Now, to be clear, this theory, while compelling, isn't an official statement from the Central Bank of Iraq. It's intel-based analysis, inspired by the commentary of figures like Frank26 and by observations of Iraq's broader financial activity. So while it makes logical sense, it's important to treat it as strategic speculation, not confirmed policy. That said, the pattern we see, the IMF reports, the modernization of Iraq's banking systems, the focus on digital payments, all of it points to one clear theme. Iraq is building something stable, not something sudden. And that's exactly the environment where a 10-year coexistence strategy fits. So, what should dinar watchers keep their eyes on in the months ahead? Announcements from the CBI about introducing smaller denominations. updates on Iraq's financial digitalization, especially moves toward cashless payments and electronic banking, legislation that strengthens Iraq's economic sovereignty and trade framework, and of course, international reports from the IMF and World Bank that reflect confidence in Iraq's fiscal reforms. Those are the breadcrumbs that could point to the timing of the next big move, not rumor threads or chat room predictions. If this 10-year coexistence idea is true, it's not bad news. It's mature news. It means Iraq may finally be approaching currency reform not as a quick fix, but as part of a real economic evolution, one that takes time, discipline, and strategy. For long-term observers, that's actually a strong signal, because rapid, desperate revaluations rarely succeed. But gradual, well-planned reforms, those are the ones that build national confidence and attract international trust. So instead of asking, when will it happen? Maybe the better question is, how is Iraq preparing for it and what signals show they're getting closer? That's the smarter way to track this story. At the end of the day, the idea of a 10-year coexistence between old and new dinar notes doesn't have to be discouraging. It could actually be the clearest sign, yet that Iraq is serious about stability, modernization, and long-term strength. The real lesson here is patience, understanding that deep, structural reform takes time. And when it finally happens, it's built on something real, not on speculation. So whether you're an investor, an analyst, or just someone fascinated by Iraq's economic transformation, keep your eyes open, stay informed, and think long-term. Because when it comes to the dinar, the marathon may already be underway. Thanks for watching Iraqi Dinar News Today, your trusted source for clear, honest, and thoughtful coverage of Iraq's currency and economic developments. If you found this breakdown helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss our next update. Stay informed, stay patient, and as always, keep watching the dinar story unfold right here on Iraqi Dinar News Today. Disclaimer: the information provided on Iraqi Dinar News Today is for educational and informational purposes only. We do not provide financial, investment, or trading advice. All content shared on this channel is based on publicly available data and personal opinions. Viewers are advised to do their own research and consult a licensed financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Iraqi Dinar News Today is not affiliated with any government agency, bank, or financial institution.